Let me do a little touch up here and stinging. I'm stinging. I am Vigo, scourge of Carpathia, bringer of darkness, the bringer of evil. I need a child so I may live again. I'm John Martin with the retro view of Ghostbusters 2, the long-awaited sequel to wait for it, Ghostbusters. I know. Something with 2 on the end being a sequel to something. How revolutionary. So yeah, Ghostbusters 2 came out in 1989, coming up on the 35-year anniversary of the release of this movie, preparing for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Why are they doing a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife that wasn't all that great? I have no goddamn idea, but the return of all of your favorites, and also Peter McNichols joins, as long as he gets to basically just act as crazy as he wants to. And honestly, Peter McNichols is a delight. Dracula Dead and loving it. He was pretty goddamn good in that, even if that movie really just kind of missed the fucking mark. And he was able to act along with Leslie Nielsen. And yeah, it was kind of funny, but realistically, it was kind of a downturn for Leslie Nielsen's comedy career. Leslie Nielsen is not in this. But Ivan Reitman comes back as director. And you can check out my retro review of the first Ghostbusters that I released recently. And Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis return as writers. And they all return along with Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson and Sigourney Weaver, who is still mind-blowing to me. She was 40 here at this point when this got released. And then you have Annie Potts returning as Janine. You have Rick Moranis returning as Louie. Oh no, or Louis. I mean, however you want to say it. I'd say Louie, because it's just funnier. And then you have Vigo, who's the man in the painting that controls people because there's slime in the ground and he needs a child to live. And he's played by Wilhelm Scream von Homburg, or Hamburg. Possibly Hamburg, Pennsylvania, Hamburg, Germany, whatever. So yeah, it's more of the same that you saw in the 1984 hit. Where there's a river of slime, too much slime, whoa, slime that reacts to emotions. They sort of lean into that a few times. Look, I'm going to be perfectly honest, while Ghostbusters 2 actually is still entertaining and fun and hits some of the same beats as the first one, as far as a follow-up to the original, it hits the mark sometimes and misses the mark other times. You can kind of see why this one is divisive among fans. I like it. I don't love it like the first one. I love some parts of it, but it also is much of a retread of the concept of the first one, and that kind of becomes its undoing because a great sequel, jumps off and does more while honoring the original. And a bad sequel or a lazy sequel kind of tunnels back in on the concept of the original. And this one tries to have it both ways. And yeah, there are some moments that are good. There are some moments that seem a little bit updated. And some of the magic is there, but not all of it. And that's unfortunate. Because upon rewatching it, I wanted it to be better than it was. So, I did like how Harris Yulin was the judge. And he's a great character actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. Kurt Fuller was in this. No relation to Robert Fuller. If you get it, you get it. So, yeah. Let's talk about some facts and figures. So, $25 million budget for this, and that's $5 million less than the 1984 original, $62.1 million in today's money. $29.4 million opening. Smashing the original opening by just over 2 times. That would be $73.1 million in today's money, because the other one opened up with like 13.5, I think. But it had more legs to it. More legs than Kamala. More legs than Kerry Von Erich after June 4th, 1986. Deep cut for wrestling fans. Mind-numbingly confusing for everybody else. $112.4 million domestic gross. Now that's good, and that is $279.5 million in today's money. But that's about $130 million less than the haul for the first one. That's not good. Bigger opening, smaller return. And $215.3 million worldwide, which would be $535.5 million in today's money. So if you ever wonder why they didn't do a third movie, you kind of see why. The studio might have accepted a little bit less of a return, like, say, 243 down to, say, 193, 173, but not 112. That's like a Jaws and Jaws 2 downturn. Take a look at the facts and figures of Jaws and Jaws 2, and you'll understand why Jaws 3 and Jaws 4... Look, Jaws 2 wasn't great. The whole point is, sometimes you can't capture the magic in more ways than one. And even though people do like this, you can kind of see why the studio might have been a little bit hesitant to do a third movie. And then also Bill Murray's career took off in the 90s. Dan Aykroyd did stuff. Ernie Hudson, I'm sure, did stuff, but it's eluding me right now. And Harold Ramis, the late, great Harold Ramis, he would do stuff as well, except behind the camera. So yeah, 5 years after the first film, the Ghostbusters, their hard work was just about, and now they're working in various places. Peter hosts a show where it's about psychics and goofiness. It's like a talk show. Harold Ramis is continuing his studies. Dan Aykroyd owns some kind of bookshop. And also Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd are going to children's parties to be Ghostbusters and get entertainment, or provide entertainment, and get some extra cash. Ecto-1 is a lot like some of the cars around here in western Washington. Very, very badly put together, throwing out a lot of exhaust, and because we don't bother with any kind of environmental shit, you can only imagine how much it's adding to burning the ozone layer to where we will all die one day. So, the funniest part to me was the opening with Sigourney Weaver's Dana, and the baby carriage with Oscar hurling down the goddamn street and self-propelling and going all around this, and then she manages to get the baby. And I have to say, that is one of the ugliest kids that has been in movies in a long goddamn time. Only beaten by the kid that was in the beginning of Hook. Now, I probably shouldn't pick on that kid, because I'm sure that they grew up to be a very nice individual, but good God, director, keep a wide shot. What the hell are you doing? The kid is more frightening than anything else in the goddamn thing. So, for whatever reason, Harold Ramis, Egon is testing the patience of arguing couples and turning up the temperature gradually in rooms and doing all this, because why not continue studies on emotions and everything? So, the world will end on New Year's Eve, or it will end on February 14, 2016, according to the Peter Venkman Talk Show. And hey, at least we won't have to worry about the all-woman-led Ghostbusters 2016 movie that was not good, no matter who you put in it. So, yeah, McNichols is very funny here, with an impossible-to-place accent. Vigo is in a painting. His ghost comes to life. He takes over McNichols and basically uses him as a conduit, his Renfield, kind of fitting, considering he was Renfield and Dracula Dead and loving it, to go get a baby so he may live again. Beware, I live. Bill Murray is a delight, as you would expect. Sigourney Weaver looks fucking incredible. And, yeah, then it kind of just meanders. It just kind of... You get the Slime River part, that's kind of funny. They get hauled into court for drilling in the street, causing more issues with traffic, and Dan Aykroyd almost gets dumped in the slime. Rick Moranis becomes her lawyer, but he's like, I did night law. Well, that's fitting. We were arrested at night. Again, some of the stuff doesn't work. I'm probably butchering that line, but it was along the same beats. And then basically the judge pisses the slime off. The slime gets angry. The slime releases two ghosts of two people that the judge put to death. And they get the gag order or restraint order taken away from them. And there was one funny line, they could be exposing themselves. And Peter says, and you don't want us exposing ourselves. And then they're back in business after saving the court by blowing it up and trapping the ghosts. They have all their equipment still. Somehow it's still working after 5 years. And then basically we get a montage, all this stuff. The music is not as great. I do want to say no Ray Parker Jr., led stuff here. At least good Ray Parker Jr. A lot of this stuff just doesn't hit. This movie simultaneously feels older than the first one. And it's that weird thing between like 88, 92, 93, where so many movies feel like they take place in a totally different time period. It's hard to explain. I don't know, horror movies and other stuff. It has that weird cheeseclothy, weird look to it, and I don't know. It just doesn't hit. So yeah, Vigo apparently was a torturer, the vile bequeather. Wait, that's Valak, and he was 105 years old when he died. I don't think anybody lived to 105 years old back in the 1600s, but what do I know about history? And then basically Vigo is trying to get to this baby, use McNichols as a conduit. They test the slime, they put it in a toaster. And then at one point, the slime gets into the goddamn bathtub and tries to get Sigourney Weaver and the kid. Oh, I see. It's okay when slime gets into a woman's tub, but when I do it. And then she goes with Peter. They're trying to discover more about this stuff. Vigo can possess anyone or anything. If only he possessed something a little bit more interesting. And good Lord Sigourney is what I point out. They go to the sewers. There's a ghost train. No, that's not a euphemism. They get covered in slime. They start to fight. Fight. The Ernie, Aykroyd, and Ramis show. So, Peter and Dana are on a date while all this is going on. Then the slime-covered guys interrupt. Like, hey, we need to figure this shit out. The kid ends up eventually getting taken. I did kind of find it funny that Janine and, Louis got together. That was kind of cool. That was actually kind of good. And, you look at how Annie Potts looked back then. I think a lot of guys would have. So, then the museum that Sigourney Weaver's working in gets covered in slime. The kid's going to be sacrificed. And they can't blast through it, so they decide, hey, wait a second, we need to give the city hope. Let's go steal the Statue of Liberty, use this good slime that we mechanically altered, and genetically altered, and then let's play some music, and let's use one of those NES Advantage controllers with the joystick that was about the same craftsmanship as one of those Atari joystick controllers. If you remember, you remember. It sucked. But I did find it funny they said the one line before that, I hate Jell-O, come on, there's always room for Jell-O. So they get the Statue of Liberty, they get that, they torch the thing, the torch has been passed. They interrupt Vigo from possessing the kid. They slime McNichols, and then they manage to send Vigo back to the goddamn painting. And then there's this painting of the Ghostbusters as the wise men. And that's it. I kind of just recount and rush through the goddamn plot because there isn't a lot to it. There are some entertaining moments, the Statue of Liberty part. The NES controller gave me a nice blast of nostalgia. McNichols is pretty funny. And there are some entertaining moments, but I just feel that Ghostbusters 2 didn't try hard enough to branch out. It felt like the studio wanted to play it safe, and that kind of resulted in a bit of like a differing, like two magnets coming together. Like, yeah, the positive and positive, but like you have these sides that just can't quite come together. Because yeah, it's entertaining. It's not as awful as some people say it is. It's not as great as others like say, oh, it's just as good as the original. And if you think that, that's fine. I think it falls somewhere in the middle. I think it is what it is. Ghostbusters 2 is entertaining. Vigo's an okay villain. He really doesn't do all that much. In fact, if we're being perfectly honest, the villain in the first one doesn't do much, but does more than Vigo does. And there we go. Yeah, they never did a third one, probably because of the diminishing box office returns I talked about a little bit earlier. But did you think Ghostbusters 2 was a worthy successor? Do you feel it matches the original? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.